I want to share with you my August haul of Blu-rays, 4Ks, and Steelbooks. So let's get going.
Welcome back, sir. All systems for gaming will be prepared in a few minutes. For now, feel free to grab a cup of coffee and have a good day.
Hey everyone, Mike here. Welcome back to the Marvel Man Cave. And today it's the end of another month, and I thought I would share my haul of what I picked up for the month of August. In terms of, I mostly have Blu-rays and some 4Ks, but I would say this month was definitely a Steelbook month, so I'm going to save those for last. If you're not interested in any of the other ones, you can skip using the chapter markers below. But I'm going to break these up into kind of the Blu-rays first, and then we'll go 4Ks, and then we'll go Steelbook last. And I want to talk a little bit about where I got each of these. But before we get started, let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite pickup of the month? Did you purchase some physical media or a movie or anything like that? And what was your favorite? We're going to get started with the movie Knowing, starring Nick Cage, directed by Alex Proyas. It's $3.95, but I got it for $2 at the Salvation Army one of the days when they were doing like a 50% off sale. I'd never actually seen this before, and being that it was about $2, I figured, I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And I actually really enjoyed this movie. It was better than I anticipated. I vaguely remember this being out in theaters, but I had just watched Dark City, and obviously I'm a big fan of The Crow. So I figured, Nick Cage, who I love, Alex Proyas, to me it was worth a $2 shot, and I actually really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was pretty good. I picked up Terminator Dark Fate. This was another flea market find, and Dark Fate was the last of the Terminator movies that I did not own, so I wanted to make sure I picked that up to kind of complete the collection. I haven't seen this. I remember going to see it in theater, and I think I saw it one other time, but it's been a while since I've watched it, so I definitely want to watch this again. And then I went to a Half Price Books and found The Hateful Eight on Blu-ray. This is one of those, like, I love Quentin Tarantino movies. I used to own all the DVDs up until when I was getting rid of them, and wanted to start making sure I had them all again. I have them all on digital, but really prefer the physical media versions. I think the picture is much better than it is on streaming. And found this one with the slip, but you guys know me, I'll end up getting rid of the slip before too long, even though this one is pretty thick and it has this little fold out. So this might be the exception to the rule. I might keep the slip on this, but obviously one of my favorite Quentin movies, and would really love if they came out with a 4K of this, especially with IMAX. The way this was shot, this thing would look gorgeous. This I found at the flea market, but it was Superman Returns. This is one, like, I have never seen out and about before. This was the first time I had seen it, and as soon as I saw it, I knew it was immediate pickup, especially at the flea market. It was $2. I wasn't going to pass that up. I know it's not the greatest Superman movie, but I have a fondness for this. I do kind of enjoy this movie for the most part. Obviously, some parts changed a little bit over time, but I thought this was a pretty good movie and really enjoyed it. And I'm getting next month. I'm getting the Superman, was it the 4-film box set? So I wanted to make sure I had this, and then I have the new James Gunn Superman coming whenever that gets released too. So I was like, this way I'll have the complete Superman collection. And then a chunk of these next are pickups that I got from Disc Replay, where I still had about $70 or $80 worth of credit. So, and because I wasn't going back there for a while, like, I've been down in that area a few times this summer, but I won't be going back for quite a while. So I just figured, let me go ahead and spend the credits that I had remaining. So I ended up picking up both G.I. Joe movies that I haven't seen in a while. I remember watching Retaliation. I remember really kind of enjoying this movie. I've seen it a few times. I remember really kind of enjoying it at the time, but it's been a while. And then honestly picked up Retaliation because to complete the collection and have them both. But I don't remember it being that bad. I remember it not being great, especially considering they basically killed off the entire cast of the first movie, which still don't really understand. Whatever. But picked up both of these because I'm a child of the 80s and I love all things G.I. Joe, Transformers, and things like that. And even if they're bad, I still kind of enjoy them. Love Actually, this is another one. My wife and I watch this every Christmas, so I wanted to pick it up on physical. The movie Inferno, this one actually I think was actually a $2 pickup at the flea market. I didn't get this from Disc Replay, so it's mismanaged in here. But picked this one up. I bought the first one in, I think, the trilogy or whatever. I can't remember the name of the last one all of a sudden, even though I think it was Deception Point or something like that, but I could be getting my Dan Brown books mixed up. But wanted to pick this one up because who doesn't like Tom Hanks? Christopher Robin. This is kind of going along with just continuing our Disney movie pickups. Saw this one at Disc Replay and wanted to add it to the collection for our Disney movie stuff, and seemed like a no-brainer. The movie Shazam. This is me. I have all the DC movies on digital for the most part, and there's a chunk of them that I would like to get on physical. Shazam was being one of them, and then Aquaman being the other. Like I said, I own both of these. I probably will not get the sequel to Aquaman, or I might get the sequel to Shazam if I can find it, but I probably will not be picking up Batman v Superman. I've seen that a few times, and I've seen the regular Justice League movie out, but I'm still waiting to get the Zack Snyder's Justice League version of the movie, but I have not seen that out and about yet. But definitely wanted to pick up these two because I thought these were two of the better, and I already own Wonder Woman. Then adding to the holiday collection, I wanted to pick up National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. This one seems like a no-brainer. I was debating on whether or not I was ever going to get the 4K, but to be perfectly honest, this was $2, and I don't really know if 4K is really going to be that much of an upgrade. So I was like, you know what? I'll save the money and just get the Blu-ray, and that'll be perfectly fine. I've been watching it on streaming for all these years, so the Blu-ray is going to be an upgrade to that. And then another movie with The Rock, San Andreas. I remember really liking this movie. I've seen it a bunch of times over the years, and this was one of those. I'm like, I've been in the mood. Maybe it's summer, maybe it's the oppressive heat. I don't know, but I've been in the mood for like disaster movies this summer. And so when I saw this out, and again, this was another $2 flea market pickup, I was like, you know what? I enjoyed this movie enough for $2. Like I enjoy watching it. I'm definitely gonna pick it up. And then I picked up Planes by Disney. This was one, it was $2 at the flea market. This is one I've never seen. My wife has seen it and she liked it. So as we're kind of building up our Disney animated collection, I was like, you know what? I always see this and figured I'd go ahead and get it. And we're going to move this into our rotation of our Disney movie night at some point because, again, I've never seen it, but she enjoyed it. So why not give it a shot for $2? The movie Night and Day. I think it's probably with the release of the new Mission Impossible. I've definitely been in a Tom Cruise mood over the last few months. So decided to go ahead and pick this up. This is another one. I see it at the flea market all the time for $2, and I've usually skipped over it. I remember watching it, but I only saw it the one time. I remember it being pretty good. I mean, Tom Cruise, you know what you're getting out of a Tom Cruise action movie. So I was like, you know what, for $2, I would mind picking this up and adding it to the collection and adding it to all the Tom Cruise movies that I own. And then this one, and you do not need to adjust your screen. This is in Spanish, but it is 40 Days and 40 Nights. This is one I really enjoy this movie, and this is one I think it's a hard to find Blu-ray. I can't remember what it was going for on eBay when I was looking it up, but they had it in Spanish at the flea market, and it was $2. And I kind of kept looking at it, and I was like, you know what? I'm willing to bet this movie is in English, and it's just the cover. And as soon as I got home, I plugged it in. I was willing to take the chance for $2. As soon as I got home, I put it into the 4K player, and yeah, sure thing, it plays in English. So it's just the cover that's in Spanish, which is pretty entertaining to me. But I know it's 40 Days, 40 Nights. I watched this movie a bunch when it first came out. I thought it was a really funny movie, really enjoyable. I really enjoy the cast, so I'm looking forward to kind of digging back into this one. Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Enough said. And then this was another one that I saw at the flea market. I've never seen it, but it feels like a movie that I'm really going to like, but it's straight out of Compton. I think it was Movies with James. He just picked up the 4K with the slip, and he was talking about how much he loved this movie, and it's one of his favorite movies. So then when I saw this out, and I mean, the cast and the story in general, I mean, I grew up with this group, and obviously all the rappers that went on to do other things, but it was just one of those. I was like, you know, I kind of can't believe I've never seen this documentary. So, or well, not documentary, but you know what I mean, kind of biopic. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this one a shot, especially for $2 on the Blu-ray. I don't really need the 4K of this one, so I was like, I'm gonna add this to the rotation and watch this in the next few weeks. Gone in 60 Seconds. If you saw last month's video, you know I picked up quite a few Nick Cage movies, and it continued with last month. Again, this is one that I saw. I saw this one at the flea market, and then I ended up seeing it Disc Replay for like a couple dollars more. So I was glad I picked it up. But I actually sat down and watched this, and really enjoyed this movie. I can't. It's just a lot of fun. And is there any producer in Hollywood other than Jerry Bruckheimer that has made more of I would say movies that kind of defined a generation, because it feels like Bruckheimer was just pumping out hit after hit after hit for the longest time, but picked up Gone in 60 Seconds. This is another disc replay one, $5.99. The movie Eraser. I'd seen this a bunch of times. I think with the movie Collateral Damage is a 2-pack, but for the most part, 2-packs are okay, or for some movies. But for this one, I really just kind of wanted them separate. And I remember really enjoying this movie when it came out. It was this, and I always get this one a little bit confused with 6 Day, similar coloring and things like that. But definitely, I love my Arnold movies, as you can see, and you'll see later on as well. So picked up Eraser. Continuing with my Clint Eastwood collection, I picked up American Sniper. Again, you can see $5.99 at disc replay. I really enjoyed this movie. I remember the ending kind of being a little bit of a punch in the gut, but I mean, Bradley Cooper, it's a Clint Eastwood movie, and I think one of Clint's better. And as I'm kind of building out my Clint Eastwood directorial movies, this is one I definitely wanted to add. I think there's a few like that I've never seen. Bridges of Madison County. I think I got that right. So there's some of his that I haven't seen, and I haven't seen like every single Clint Eastwood movie, but I'm definitely getting the ones that I've seen and I know I enjoyed. Speaking of Clint, The Mule, again, another $5.99 pickup at disc replay. Again, this is one I haven't seen, but I've heard such good things about it. And honestly, because it's Clint Eastwood, I'm willing to take the risk that for $6, I'm going to enjoy this movie to watch more than a few times. I know I've said on this channel a few times that I traditionally don't pick up movies that I haven't seen, but every now and then I picked up First Man. This is one, it is still sealed. You can see it was $6.49 at Half Price Books. And this is one, like, honestly, Ryan Gosling, I absolutely love. It's a space movie. It's right up my alley. But then when I was looking at it in the back, it's from the same director that did La La Land. And I love La La Land. So it was kind of that combination of things. And I'm like, what are the odds that I'm not going to like this movie? That combination doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be great, but I'm willing to take a risk. It's kind of got that stew of things that I'm like, I think this is a movie I'm really going to enjoy. So definitely one I'm going to be watching soon. This one was a little bit more expensive. It's $16.99, but it's Jerry Maguire. I love Cameron Crowe movies. Again, it's another director that I want to make sure I have all of his movies that I can on physical. This one came with the slip, which I don't know if that's why it was a little bit more expensive, because it looks like this was only at Best Buy. I don't know, but I don't really keep the slips, so I'm not really too pressed about that. But I love Jerry Maguire, and I was thinking about this the other day. Do you consider this a football movie? Let me know in the comments below. This was another Half Price Books pickup. It was War for the Planet of the Apes on 4K. This one was $10.49. This is a series that I see on Blu-ray all the time, but these are movies that I really enjoy and that I think probably warrant a 4K. So I'm not buying them on Blu-ray, even though I can get them cheaper, because I'm waiting to find them on 4K. And this one, I've seen a few different places, but this was the lowest price I had seen for it. And it was cheaper than I could get on Amazon. So I went ahead and picked this up. And it is a used copy. So, but that's totally fine with me. It looks perfect. And then I picked up Say Anything, $7.49 at Half Price Books. This one, it's my wife's probably favorite movie of all time. I've watched this countless times. It's Cameron Crowe. This is one I had to have in my collection, even though I know I've bought the VHS, the DVD. I think I bought the DVD a couple times because I got it from my wife before I took her to see John Cusack downtown last year, as kind of like the build up, since I couldn't actually give her John Cusack, which was probably works out better for me, but got her the DVD of that. And then when I saw the Blu-ray out and about, I was like, I definitely got to pick this up. And then this one, the movie Species, which I've seen a few times, but I have not seen for a very long time. It was at Half Price Books, and it was in their $3 section. So this was on clearance. And I'm not 100% sure how they decide what they put in clearance versus on sale, because I did see this in the regular section. And it's kind of hard to make out on, you're not going to be able to make it out on camera, but the disc looks fine. So when I saw this, I was like, you know what, I think they were charging like $5.99 or $6.99 regular, and I was like $3 for this. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get it. I remember enjoying this movie enough when it first came out, and watched it several times. I was like, it's been a while, and I've kind of been in a sci-fi mood, as you can see with some of these things. This one is a football movie, and one I really enjoy. It's The Replacements. I mean, it helps that Jon Favreau's in it as well, but Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman. This movie, I think it's probably underrated. I think it's kind of one of those, I would chalk it up as a cult classic. I really enjoyed this movie. It's got a great cast of characters. East Reefens is a hilarious in this movie. I mean, it's just a good all around movie. And this is one I'm definitely going to be watching as football season here in the US is getting ready to get started. Another Arnold movie, Commando. Don't really need to say more about this. This one I got off eBay and actually in combination with the movie Sideways. Sideways is one that I've been wanting for a very long time and I've been watching on eBay. And then it actually came in an old DVD case with kind of some backing. And it was kind of hard to tell in the listing, which is why maybe I got it for less than $20 because I could kind of tell that the original artwork was just kind of put in front and they had a blue backing to denote that it was a Blu-ray. So I was able to get this and then I was able to get free shipping when I added Commando because it was from the same seller. And Commando was another one. They don't make it on 4K and it was one I wanted to make sure I had in my collection. So I was able to add two movies that were on my definite want list at the same time. If you haven't seen Sideways, this movie is great. I would say in my head canon, I've always kind of qualified this as like, this is the movie Swingers 30 years later after they're older because Thomas Hayden Church definitely gives off Vince Vaughn vibes from Swingers. And, you know, I could definitely see Mikey from Swingers turning into Paul Giamatti as later in life. But it was one of those, in my head, I've always kind of seen this as the spiritual sequel to Swingers. And speaking of the movie Swingers, yes, I picked up another copy of Swingers, but I got this for the movie Made. This is one that was listed on eBay. I have been watching this for probably the better part of a year. Maybe not this exact. I have a search set on eBay to let me know when new listings. And they've always been around like $40 to $50 for this. And this is the only way the movie Made comes. And it's one of the few Jon Favreau movies that I didn't already own and wanted to make sure I added. And there was one day this one popped up on the listing. It had been there for like, I let it go for like maybe a month or so and it kept going up. And I decided to make an offer of $32. They countered it at 35. So I got the whole thing with shipping for 40. I felt pretty good about that. So to add the movie Made and technically another copy of Swingers, which I think is my sixth copy of this. Another childhood favorite, Masters of the Universe. This is another eBay pickup. This is one that I've been watching for a while and been on my list and finally got one for less than $20. Just one of my favorite movies of all times. I think if I ever saw like a collector's edition of this, I would probably pick it up as well. I remember being willing to go to the mattresses with my sister-in-law because it was sometime during the pandemic. We were sitting around and I flipped past this because I have this on my Plex server from years ago when I had the DVD. And she was like, "Oh, I heard that movie was really bad." And I was like, "You need to shut your mouth. We are now watching this." And we sat down and watched it. She turned and she's like, "It wasn't as bad as I thought." I was like, "You need to be careful what you say next." Because I really enjoyed this movie. Frank Langella, who's all the scenery as Skeletor. I really enjoyed Dolph Lundgren in this movie. I think it's a classic. Continuing some of the disc replay pickups that I got is I added volume 3 of the Pixar shorts to my collection. This is one of those. I picked up volume 1 a few weeks ago. I think it was from Half Price Books and then saw this one. So I'm missing volume 2. I don't know how many volumes they make of this, but as I kind of talked about, is we're trying to get all the Pixar stuff in general and that they don't make the shorts anymore. And I know you can watch them on Disney Plus and whatnot, but I like to have them in case we want to watch them. I know my wife and I really like the lava one and even Bow. Like there's some really classic Pixar shorts on these, so it's really nice to have them in hand. Sword in the Stone. This just kind of goes along with the added Disney animated collection. But Sword in the Stone is one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. It's Fox and the Hound is number one for sure, but Sword in the Stone really ranks up there. We watched this before we were really counting movies as Disney movie night, so it was probably sometime last year, late last year. My wife and I sat and watched this, but I was surprised I didn't own it in the collection, so when I saw it, I added it. And then I picked up the Santa Claus 3-pack, which this originally was sealed and the digital codes all work. So I was able to pick up all 3 of the Santa Claus movies on digital with the slipcover and everything. We really enjoy, I don't know why I'm showing you the back. We really enjoy these movies. We watched them all, I think all 3 of them last Christmas. And again, it's the perfect time to start adding to my Christmas movie collection because we're going to start watching these before too much longer. So it's nice to have a few more in the rotation. Short Circuit 2. If you watched last month's video, you know I picked up the first one. And I think I remember talking about seeing this at Disc Replay last time. But I could have sworn they had this listed at $22 when I picked it up, because when I saw the spine, I looked at it and I thought it said $22. I was wrong. It was only 12. So when I saw it for 12, either in my mind, because I thought it was going to be 22, I was like, that's a deal, or just $12 because I had the store credit and willing to spend it at that time. But definitely very happy to have both Short Circuit and Short Circuit 2 on Blu-ray in my collection. This is another one of those series that I would love for them to do kind of a collector's edition of these movies, because I remember just about splitting my guts whenever I saw the original. I don't remember the second one quite as much, but I definitely remember the first one. And then I think it was last month when I was telling you, is either last month or the month before, when I picked up Men in Black, that I said I'd never see those movies out. Well, I was able to pick Men in Black 2 up with the slipcover and add this to my collection. So now I have all three Men in Black movies in the collection after looking literally for months and not seeing any of them. Within the span of minimum 2 months, I picked up all three. And then the last Blu-ray in the collection, I picked up Game of Thrones Season 5. This is one, it's kind of funny because I had gone to a half-price books earlier in the day. This is a really nice set. And I'm splitting stories. I'm trying to open this up so you can take a look if you want to see. But obviously, pretty nice set. I didn't even know there was a digital code that probably doesn't work in there. That's the way it looks. Let me get everybody in. But I'd gone to a half-price books earlier in the day to just kind of look around and see what they had. And they had this, and it was $14.99. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't want to pay $15 for that. So, especially since I hadn't paid more than $6 for any of the other ones. This whole Game of Thrones collection started because I found seasons 1, 2, and 3 at the flea market, and the guy was selling them for $2 each. And then I found season 4 for $5.99. And then I went to Disc Replay literally that same day to meet some friends for dinner, and it was killing time before, and went over. I was like, let me see if they have any of the Game of Thrones. They had season 5, $5.99, $10 difference. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I can add season 5. I'm going to add season 6 whenever I find it eventually. Season 7, I'm still on the fence about, but I think I'll probably end up getting it because at that point, I'll just have the entire collection. And maybe it's not as bad as I remember and everybody remembers. Probably not. Now we're going to get into the 4K collection, and these are still movies that I picked up. Well, correction. I picked up Jumanji: The Next Level. This is one of the movies that I have been on the hunt for because I have the other one and I wanted it on 4K. This is another one of those movies I'm like, I didn't want it on Blu-ray. I see it on Blu-ray all the time. I did not want it on Blu-ray. So I wanted it to wait for it to 4K, and I never see it. I always see Welcome to the Jungle. And then we were walking around the flea market and I saw it sitting there. The case was a little beat up, so I replaced the case because I have some extra cases laying around the house. And I asked the guy how much he wanted for it. He said $2. It was a no-brainer pickup. It was just kind of funny because I'd literally been looking for this for months. Every time I went to Disc Replay, I looked for it. They didn't even have it. And finally, this one random day at the flea market, the guy had like maybe 4 or 5 Blu-ray 4Ks just sitting at the table in general. But $2, yeah, $2 for a 4K? Yes, please. And then these next two are Disc Replay pickups. I picked up Ex Machina. This is another one I had been waiting. I could have gotten it on Blu-ray several times over the past year, but really, really, really wanted this on 4K. This is a great movie, another sci-fi movie. At least I would qualify it as sci-fi, even though it doesn't take place in space. But I think this movie is fantastic. Love Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson in this movie. Cannot wait to watch it again. I watched it not that long ago, but I will probably just watch it again just because I have it on 4K. And then I picked up the Jungle Cruise from Disc Replay. It's another one. My wife and I know we watched this sometime during the pandemic, kind of in that, general, whenever you define it, era, and saw it at Disc Replay in the case for like $9.99. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I like The Rock. I like Emily Blunt. We're working on working on our Disney movies, so I added Christopher Robin as a live action. Adding Jungle Cruise seemed like a no-brainer. The next 3 movies are all just new releases that came out that I got from Amazon. So I picked up Better Off Dead with John Cusack, another just, I would say, classic 80s movie. Love John Cusack. He's one of those actors that I'm not going to get every movie that he's ever made because kind of towards the end of his career, he just seemed like he was kind of doing anything. But a lot of those classic John Cusack movies I really enjoy, and this is among them. 40-Year-Old Virgin. This movie I remember seeing several times in theaters when it came out. It's fair to say they don't make comedies like these anymore. Love Steve Carell. Love the cast of this movie. Thinks it's absolutely hilarious. I did debate on whether or not I wanted the 4K or if I wanted to pick up the Blu-ray for cheaper, and I ended up going with the 4K because I was like, you know what, I might as well just pick up the new one rather than picking up an older Blu-ray copy. So went ahead and picked this one up. Have not sat down and watched it yet, but planning on in the next few weeks. And then The Accountant 2. I watched this as soon as it came on Amazon Prime, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoy the Accountant movies. I really like Ben Affleck's character of Christian Wolf in these series, and John Bernthal is just fantastic. So this was definitely one that I knew as soon as they announced that it was coming out. It was an immediate pre-order. I love the Accountant movies and already have the other 4K of the original, and definitely wanted to put this side by side. The next three movies are the ones that I picked up from the Arrow sale that Barnes & Noble was doing last month. And the first one was Demolition Man. Getting to pick this up at 50% off felt better than paying the $50 or whatever they usually charge, even like 34 or something like that. So I got it for $24.99. Obviously continuing my Sylvester Stallone collection. But this is one, you know what the three seashells are used for? Classic movie. And next two I have to show off together because it's Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer. I would say seminal movies of my childhood. Love these movies. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sword and Sandals movies. These are just great. Nothing more to say. Now we're at the real meat of the month. I would say I did not intend to do all these steelbooks when the month started, but in a combination of finding some that had gotten really marked down on sale either through Amazon or finding stuff out and about, and also some of these were disc replay pickups, so I used for some store credit, I was able to kind of beef up a little bit of my steelbook collection. And we're going to start by, I would say, a rebuy. I picked up on eBay the Godzilla steelbook because I have already a few of the MonsterVerse movies in steelbook and wanted to get the other ones. And this is the Blu-ray case, and I don't know if it's a steelbook or really more of a metal pack, but definitely wanted to make sure I had all the MonsterVerse movies in steelbook. Kong, I'm a little bit concerned about because I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford that one. And the only one I see that's cheap has the big 3D, which I don't really want it to say 3D on the thing. But this one does seem to be the 3D version because it came with a 3D disc. But as you can see, I just took out the 4K from my other movie and put that in here along with it, and still have the Blu-ray in there. But this one's really nice because it's not gonna maybe come out on camera. It's got, let me see, it's got embossing, like the whole tail is all embossed. So this whole part, especially when you open it up, this whole section here is all embossed and raised off the thing. The only thing that I'm not sure about is it's got this interior, which is kind of this square. That was the thing I thought was kind of weird, that it's just kind of got that on it. But, you know, I was like happy to add Godzilla. I have Godzilla King of Monsters coming from, I think it's the Blue Fan Steelbook that's going to be coming out. So I'm going to be adding that. So Kong Skull Island is going to be the only one that I don't have on Steelbook, I would say, by the end of the year. But I will probably end up fixing that at some point, but just kind of waiting to see if I can get it for a price that I'm willing to pay. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. This is one I actually found at half-price books that I wasn't anticipating. I want to say it seemed like maybe someone had dumped their entire collection of Steelbooks, or at least a collection of Steelbooks, at half-price books, because that day I went, I remember seeing Aquaman, Green Lantern, Justice League's already always there, but there was several movies in Steelbook form that I hadn't seen before, and this was among them. This was $20, and I love this movie. I really enjoy it. I didn't already own it in my collection on physical, so definitely when I saw this in Steelbook, I was like, you know what, I'm going to add this to it. It is the Blu-ray version, but I don't think this is a movie that I really need to have in 4K. I don't know that it would add that much to it, but party on, man. One of this month's new releases, sorta, not really a new release, but I picked up the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I think this was re-released, reissued when obviously the Final Reckoning was up for pre-order. So when this came back up for pre-order, I pre-ordered it and got this in last month. So not really a new movie, but I guess a new reissue. And then if you saw my unboxing of this on the channel, Over the Top, Sylvester Stallone, I sat down and watched this past weekend. Still a really fun movie. I remembered more about it than I thought I did, but there was a lot I had forgotten too. But this was definitely one of my more enjoyable Steelbook pickups because you got some embossing on his arm and the title and stuff like that. Just a really nice looking Steelbook and a pretty good movie. Another new release for the month, the Thunderbolts. This is surprise to no one. Continuing to collect the MCU movies. Really enjoyed this movie. Have not sat down and watched this yet. I've just had other movies that have kind of taken priority, and I watched this when it came out on digital. So just kind of waiting to sit down and watch this again on 4K. I think this movie, it didn't do fantastic at the box office, but this is one of Marvel's best movies. I think I put this in like my top 5 or 6 all time. This is a really, really good movie. If you have not seen Thunderbolts, stop this video right now after you give it a thumbs up and new to subscribe and all that. But stop the video and go watch this because this is a really good movie. And then one random pickup that I did last month is Man of Steel for $7.99 in the Steelbook. I already own the 4K of this, so the plan for this one was like, I'm going to get the Steelbook of Man of Steel because it just kind of felt poetic in that way. This thing is steel sealed. Got this at Disc Replay again for $7.99 for the Steelbook, and I was buying it for the Steelbook, and I'll just put the 4K in that. So that was the plan with this. But sometimes at Disc Replay, they will sell their Blu-ray Steelbooks for pretty cheap. Like I've never seen one for more than $10, and this one at $7.99. So I'm going to be adding the 4K to this to round out some of my DC movies. And we're not going in alphabetical order, but I picked up a slew of X-Men movies. So we got X-Men First Class, X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men Days of Future Past, and Dark Phoenix. I have a video coming out about completing my X-Men collection, but this is one of those, a combination of 3 of these, I believe, let me think about this for a second. Yeah, 3 of these were all eBay purchases that I got for less than $20. And then Dark Phoenix is the only 4K, but I got this one at Disc Replay when I was looking to spend that credit that I had remaining, and was able to pick this up because it was more or less like these were the only 4 left that I had in my X-Men collection that weren't on Steelbook, including the Wolverine movies. It was like, you know what? I think it'd be kind of somewhat satisfying to have all the X-Men movies all on Steelbook, so I went ahead and did that. Then another new release for the month is How to Train Your Dragon. This is one that my wife and I, we watched when it came out on digital not that long ago, so we just watched it and really enjoyed it. And I thought for a live action remake, it was pretty good, but I thought the Steelbook may be even better. So you get this kind of almost, it comes in its own basically case, and then you have this extra little protection here, and then the medallion is magnetic. So the medallion, I'm guessing you could take this off and you could put it on your refrigerator. People still do that sort of thing, but obviously fits very well on this Steelbook here. It's what it looks like on the inside. I really like this Steelbook because I like the way it basically looks like a book. Looks kind of like a medieval kind of book. So I really enjoy the simplicity of, I would say the simplicity, but obviously this medallion, which is embossed, looks on the front. And the fact that, you know, it can just kind of comes in its own little protective case, I thought was pretty nice. So I'm not going to use a different case for it. I'm just going to put it like this on the shelf. And if I had to rank it, I would still rank the animated one a little bit better. But considering the director came back and was doing the movie again, it was really nice to see Gerard Butler do the live action version. But there's things you can get away with in animation that you can't in live action either. But I did think this was a very good representation of the animated movie, and we really enjoyed this. I think my wife might enjoy this a little bit more than the animated movie, so we're a little bit split on that. And then I picked up the Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes on 4K Steelbook. I did this because I also picked up the entire 4-movie collection of the Hunger Games on Steelbook. These are movies that I really enjoy watching, especially, it's kind of sad because obviously Philip Seymour Hoffman, I believe he died either during the making of, I think it was 4, or shortly thereafter, or shortly before, I can't remember. Maybe it was after 3 and before 4. I don't remember the exact time. If you remember, let me know in the comments below. But this is one I had my eye on Amazon for a long time. It kept going in and out of stock. and I think it was during the, was it Prime Day sale that they had going on. They had marked it down to like 42, but again, I mentioned I use a website called Camel Camel Camel, and they had it the lowest price at like 36 or $34. I was going to decide to hold. I was going to wait a little bit, and then sometime a few weeks later it went down to, I believe, 37 or $36, and that's when I went ahead and picked it up. So got 4 movies for $36 in Steelbook in 4K. Can't beat that. And then after that, I was like, you know, I was like, we really enjoyed this one when we watched it. I didn't have high expectations going into this. I was like, you know, this is just going to be kind of a cash grab, but ended up really enjoying this movie and didn't buy it when it first came out because I didn't own any of the other ones. I owned them all on digital. So just decided to hold off. And then when I added these, figured I was like, you know what? Let's just complete the collection. And then finally, this month, I picked up the Transformers box set. This is one, obviously not a new movie or new set or anything like that, but this is another one I've been watching on Amazon for a while and saw that the price had kept going down every now and then on to, I forget what it was. I think 60 was the lowest price, if I remember. Somewhere around there. It was like in the $60 or $70 mark that it had gone down to. But I really enjoy AJ's Movie Place channel. If you haven't checked out his channel, I'll link to it down below. I think he's really great. And he's never really talked about this movie, this series of movies, but he's always had this case sitting on the shelf kind of right behind him. And every time I would see it, I was like, you know what? It's like, that looks like a really nice case, because I think he has it with this side out. And I was like, that looks really nice. I was like, you know, I was like, I like enough of the Transformers movies to feel like I could get away with owning that. And finally, it was one of those things, like I kept waiting and waiting, and then it went on, I don't want to say it went on sale, but it went down to, I believe, $64 through a seller. They were charging shipping, so I think all in I was about $70 for this. And I was looking at it on eBay, and even used, people were asking for like $100 and things like that. So I'm like, you know, for the 4K, this comes with the medallion, the Autobot medallion as well, which I probably should have shown you, but this set is old. You've probably seen it. So I would say this is one of those franchises that I really enjoyed the first 3 movies. The last 2, what is it? The Last Night and Age of Extinction, I think are a little bit hit and miss, but I really enjoyed Bumblebee. So I really figured, I was like, I don't mind owning this entire set, and I'll probably watch Last Night and Age of Extinction again. I was like, you know what? It's like kind of once those expectations have been lowered. And again, kind of like with G.I. Joe, I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up watching Transformers. I have somewhere on this shelf the original Transformers cartoon movie, and obviously have this Optimus Prime from Rise of the Beast, and then Hot Rod. I love the Transformers. It felt like I needed to have these, even if I don't watch the last 2 movies, Transformers movies, that often. I do enjoy Bumblebee in the first 3, so that's my own justification why I was going to add this box set to my collection. But that's it for the month. As if that wasn't enough. That was a lot of pickups for the month of August. I think September is going to be the month of the franchises, because as I'm sitting here, I think it's the Batman Dark Knight trilogy and that Superman 5 series box set. And I think there's one more that I can't remember off the top of my head that they're releasing, like one of the library books. Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street. That's another one that's scheduled to come out in September. And I have all 3 of those pre-ordered through Amazon as I'm sitting here. So I think September is going to be the month of the franchise, and they all kind of come out, I think, towards the end of the month. So that's going to be exciting and terrifying to my bank account all at the same time. But all franchises that I completely adore, and I cannot wait to get all those movies into the collection. But that's it for today. What was your favorite part of today's video? If you're still watching, please think about giving this video a thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button. Again, once we hit 300 subscribers, I plan on doing some giveaways. I have a bunch of digital codes that I'd be more than happy to give away and do some stuff like that to give back to the community. Thanks to everyone who's watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And don't forget, collect what you love.